the Knicks winning the NBA championship for the first time since 1973. For 2 weeks, the city was electric in a way it hasn't been in years. People were on the streets outside of MSG trying to celebrate. And even when they were in San Antonio, one of the great things about Mamdani being a Knicks fan was that he wanted people to be outside and celebrating. And I think it was one of the first times that I've seen a city kind of open up its gates to like let people find other people and like hang out, right? They had watch parties in Central Park, they had watch parties outside of Bryant Park, and then all throughout the city. Even like, when there was the, Trump showing up for game 3 and like, Jimmy Dolan like closing the fan viewing area in front of the stadium. Was like Mamdani's like, okay, let's turn on the TV so people can go there, and then opened up Bryant Park so people could go like chill there because he knew how important it was for everybody to be outside supporting their team in a way that like hasn't really been seen in a really long time. Jay, I know you're in New York, you're a Knicks fan, and you mentioned that you even went to one of the games. So tell us what the vibes are like like in the city.
The vibes are at an all-time high, Sonia. I don't know how else to describe it right now. I was telling somebody, you walk down the street and you greet people with Nixon 5. It's like
Yeah.
aloha to us. We start the sentence with it, we end the sentence with it, and everybody just embraced it. You see somebody wearing blue and orange, and you
Yeah.
just dap them up, give them a high five, and it's just it has the feeling of a like D1 football school. I went to a nerd school. Our sports
Yeah.
weren't very good. My sister went to Indiana. So whenever I
Yeah.
would visit her, everybody's repping the colors,
Hmm.
everybody's cheering. The student athletes that are on campus are like mini celebrities.
Hmm.
That's how it feels. That's how it feels in the
Hmm.
city right now. And has really, I would say, since the start of the playoffs,
Yeah.
especially during the finals, obviously, I think everybody's piled on. Everybody wants a piece of the Knicks. They want to be a part of it. But for those of us that are fans, we've been threading this line between like just stress and anxiety and
Mm.
just pure elation. And also just given how this team plays, because we always play from behind, especially in the
Hmm.
finals. I think in the other series leading up to this, we were kind of beaten up on teams. And then we
Hmm.
got into the Spurs series and it was like instantly the Knicks are always behind. But it embodies, I think the reason this city has embraced these Knicks specifically is because they embody this like spirit, this camaraderie. They're all friends from college, or three of them are that have played
Hmm.
together. They play from behind, but they find a way to win. Um, it's kind of just a perfect microcosm of this city. Like, it is the biggest city in the country, and yet it still feels like a small town. I'm stealing that from the mayor, who said something very similar this morning. But it really has that small town feel. Everybody's talking about
Yeah.
the same thing. Everybody's hoping
Hmm.
for the same thing, and it's really meaningful. And then again, from a brand and marketing standpoint, it just kind of like becomes this thing that people really want to be a part of. But that aside, just like the organic culture of it, the watch
Hmm.
parties. Um, you mentioned the thing about the streets. I'll tell you a fun story. There is a group of people in West Village, right? The
Hmm.
Village, for those that maybe haven't been, pretty tight streets, right? You can
Hmm.
kind of like talk to your neighbor across the street. If you live on an avenue, a little bit further apart,
Hmm.
but these streets are really on top of each other. And what this group did was they didn't have a big enough TV, so they took a projector on their fire escape and they
Yeah.
cast it onto a blank spot on a wall. And they just started this during the Atlanta Hawks series, and it was like 10, 15 people joined. Then it became 50. Then it became 100. Then NYPD shows up, and you think, oh man, the party's over.
Hmm.
But nope, NYPD just showed up with barricades to block off the street to keep people safe from traffic. And they said, party on, everybody. And
Yeah.
like that party on spirit in New York, I don't know. I've lived here 16 years, and like that party on vibe is
Hmm.
just like such an amazing thing to behold. And people are really leaning into it. Brands are leaning into it. The government's leaning into it. People just want
Hmm.
to be around these Knicks. And they've given us something to really be proud of and believe in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So a couple things here in terms of like marketing and what I've seen are good examples are the way Mamdani has uses as like a communications like masterclass and like how to keep people enjoying the game and like being a part of it, opening up the city, like making that like collegialness part of like how you want to relate to your fellow man. When the thing happened with James Dolan canceling the party outside MSG, I mean, the man was at a game watching, or starting to watch it, and then he's like working behind the scenes to like come up with a response for that, right? He was very open and transparent, communicating with, his fans on Twitter, making sure that everybody understood what was happening and giving them like a play by play so that like they knew that it wasn't him and his administration, but without it being having any like rancor, like negativity. It was like, no, this is what happened. They applied for this application for only 999 people, and then they canceled it, and James Dolan's like, well, we wanted to have more people there. Um, and then he's like, well, this is what you applied for, showed, like what happened. And then like by being transparent about it and not really like going after him, he like put, people were on his side. The other thing too is, how brands have been responding to, the
Yeah.
win itself, right? Like Nike, as usual, has come out with one of like the best commercials out there. The fact that they didn't make it about the team, about the Knicks, they made it about the fans and how long they've been waiting for this win to happen, was like the best way to go about it. It shows a guy who's like wearing a Knicks jersey, like running through the city trying to get to like a party, and like everyone's there playing on the streets, and it was directed by Josh Safdie, who just, did Marty Supreme with Timothy Chalamet. Timothy Chalamet, who's also like a huge like Knicks fan. Basically, like New Yorkers, for New Yorkers, by New Yorkers, like participating in the whole thing. And I thought it was just like all these like little like Easter eggs to like fans being like, we are of you, we understand you, and we're making this about you instead of about the team, Um, and I thought that was like a great way of celebrating, the team themselves, because they also were putting it back to the fans, right? Who have been, with them for so long. Another one is Kalshi commercial. Maybe I didn't get it, but I thought it was like a little dumb. And the whole like Timothy Chalamet actually like doing it. I'm like, oh, is that really who you want to like go after? Like you're on such a high right now. Like, even the fact that he lost the Oscar and like people are like saying that he traded in his Oscar so that the Knicks could win,
Spiritually, I don't think he
Exactly.
physically
No,
traded it in, but
totally,
he
totally,
spiritually
totally.
traded it
Right,
in.
but spiritually, right? It's like one of those deal with the devils, right? The fact that that's like where people are like going with it means that they're in their minds. It's like, oh, like they get his intensity and that's fine. But then he goes and like does the Kalshi. So I do wonder if that's gonna like further ding his brand, but we'll see.